How are you? I'm Mayor Watt. That's my site. I'm very casual tonight. I try to look business casual, but tonight I've had a rough week. Um, and so I'm running behind on everything and just I'm tired. But that's not why anybody is here. There's no music playing today. I'm not even playing it in the office. I I'm just gonna go through the news and it'll get posted probably tomorrow morning in the podcast. But I'll hang out if anybody's in chat and wants to chat. Um, yeah, but all kinds of stuff in here. Actually, I don't know if we're gonna have cars today, but I already selected a bunch of articles that I thought would be interesting to talk about, and let's just get into it. I don't know. This 11 o'clock time frame is um, would normally work well, I think, but I've been 125% active this whole week, and it's kind of sucking the life right out of me. And then I decided to switch this to later at night, which normally isn't a big deal for me. You know, I'm up until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I crash and I get up at 5 or 6, maybe 5 or 6. Um, but and I'm normally just fine, but today and this week has just been a real chore. So if you want to chat and you're in my chat, or if you are listening to this on YouTube or on the podcast or uh, getting it from Google Podcasts or from Spotify, um, come on back and talk to me another day. But if you're in chat, then say hello. Okay, so the first article is Amazon Labor Union is inspiring Amazon workers around the country to unionize. Something interesting about unions is that, the people come and go. The people that strike this up. Oh, turn of phrase, I guess. Wrong term to use. It didn't mean to throw strike in there. Um, but the people who start up a union leave. And sometimes the people that are left are sitting there looking around going, well, we don't really want a union. And it's not really easy to disband a union. And so I've been in situations where a union is starting to form, and then the people that are the ones that are kind of irritated by the administration that's provoking this unionization go, I'm going to leave instead. And then they're in the process of voting for a union, and then it forms or it doesn't. But in this particular case, the stories that you hear about Amazon workers is pretty harsh. So all the more power to them. Form that union and fight for workers' rights. You shouldn't have to pee in a freaking bottle when you're working for somebody, particularly when they're billionaires with huge margins and lots of revenue. You'd think that the workers that are making it happen would get better compensation, but you know, I'm not a billionaire, so I get called jealous. So this article is over at Motherboard Tech by Vice, and it's vice.com. The article's written by Lauren Cowrie Gurley, Gurley, and it says here that organized groups of Amazon warehouse workers have formed or expanded across the country since ALU's victory. And I read somewhere that there's some issue now saying that they want to redo the vote. Amazon wants the vote redone because people were handing out pot, I guess, um, before the vote, something like that. I don't know. I'd have to find. I don't know if it's in this article or anything, but it says North Carolina has one of the lowest union density states in the country, but hundreds of Amazon workers have reached out to join cause and signed a petition at RDU1, an Amazon fulfillment center in Garner, North Carolina, demanding a $6 per hour pay increase. Pay in the area starts around $15.50 an hour, an additional 30-minute break, permanent access to cell phones at work, on-site mental health counseling, Many of these are similar demands the ALU made in Staten Island. I mean, the way that things seem to be heading is we're going to end up back in uh, company towns, and you get paid with company money so that you can buy company products in company stores, and you go back to your company owned housing, and you go to bed on a company brand bed, and the next morning you're making your company brand coffee, and you basically look like a NASCAR employee or a NASCAR driver where you've got patches of the products that you are buying but from your employer. And you end up, I think Nestle was one of those, right? Company towns, something like that. I don't know. Just, I've always been a proponent of workers' rights, and this idea that a CEO making hundreds of millions of dollars, yet it's the stakeholders, the stockholders, and the C-suite, and a few at the top employees that are making bank, and then the workers are still making $15 an hour at the front line. You know how you get a better overall work-life balance is when you compensate an employee adequately so that they can enjoy their off time better, instead of having to go and get another freaking job just to make ends meet. Go over to Vice and read this article. It's titled Amazon Labor Union is Inspiring Amazon Workers Around the Country to Unionize. If you're an employee in an organization and you see it's systemic, unionize if you want. I'm going to continue on the next article. This next article is Apple calls Meta hypocrites for nearly 50% commission on VR purchases. I thought that it was actually more than that. It was more than 50% when you actually price it all out. But, pay attention to the article, not my particular ramblings in this particular issue, because I might be reading it the wrong way. Because the way that it worked was there was a slice taken out and then another slice, a subordinate slice, taken out as a percentage of the remainder. So maybe it does end up being 50% commission. But it says Apple is torching Meta over the metaverse company's plans to charge developers up to 47.5% for virtual goods sold through the Meta Quest store. Meta's Horizon Worlds could take up to 47.5% in commission fees. On Monday, Meta announced it would take an additional 17.5% cut from goods sold in Horizon Worlds after taking a 30% platform fee for being on the Meta Quest store. So let's click this link. It'll take you over to appleinsider.com. The article is written by Wesley Hilliard. And to me, it's just VR chat with more room. So why go to Metaverse? It's absurd. And then this on the heels of criticizing Apple and the developer platform, and anywhere that you have a massive platform where you can be discovered, where you can have a zero friction purchase of product and a vehicle to get it out to millions of customers that are known for buying stuff of higher price than other places. Why not pay the 30% commission? Hell, if I was a developer, and I actually have two apps in the App Store that, because I'm not a developer, I haven't pushed to get them relaunched. But at one point they were active on the store and on Google Play. I am sitting here going, I would love to have 30% coming to me and 70% going to the very platform that gives my ability to get 30% for literally nothing. I don't have to do much marketing. Sure, if you increase marketing, then you increase that exposure and people will buy your product because more people know about you. But if your product is good and people start talking about it, word of mouth spreads and you go viral. But that's kind of beside the point. My point really is you're using somebody else's platform as a vehicle to get something out to people, and it's zero friction for people to purchase. And if you do it in a certain way, you have an app store in your app, then you can, or I should say, a store within your app where they can do microtransactions and you can keep on going, generating this revenue. And who cares if they take a portion of it? Because you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. So if it's on a platform, then put it on another platform, put it on another platform, and you're making money everywhere. But if you sit there and don't put it on a platform that is known for people to spend money on, what's there to complain about? Okay, fine, don't put it on there. And then see how much money it generates that you don't put it on there. Well, in this case, it's exploitive. They're trying to recover a ton of money in a metaverse that doesn't even have any traction. Nobody's going to use it. Why? Because there are other options. But money begets money. So developers are going to be paid to put something on metaverse, or they're going to be early adopters and get the hype. But still, it's just going to die on the vine. I don't think metaverse is going to become anything. Facebook became something because it just kept on going. Money begets money. And it took technology evolving past AOL for AOL to die on the vine. And AOL still has so much momentum that it exists in various forms. You can still see AOL. At any rate, Facebook, I don't know. There's just so much money there that it's going to be self-supporting for a considerable amount of time. Changing the name isn't going to change anything, but it's going to make people rich because there are enough people going to Facebook and to use the metaverse. I just don't think that it's a game changer. But that could be a bad take, in in a couple of months or years, it could be a bad take. But let's see what happens. Okay, so the next article is one step closer to creating new hair follicles. So I am getting older, losing my hair. In a new study, Yale researchers take a unique approach to identify the molecular signals that induce a critical trigger for hair follicle formation and regeneration. This is over in the Mobile channel. And the article is written by Jim Shelton from Yale University. It's over at phys.org is the article. It says the findings could prove crucial for developing new therapies to regrow hair and provide a blueprint for unraveling other mysteries of tissue growth at the cellular level. This is a decades-old problem that has been unsolvable because formation of the dermal condensate. Pardon me. The dermal condensate, the signaling center that induces the growth and differentiation of hair follicles, has been difficult to visualize and capture due to how rapidly they form, said Dr. Peggy Myung, M-Y-U-N-G, Associate Professor of Dermatology at Yale School of Medicine and senior author of the new study in the journal Developmental Cell. Well, that's neat. Maybe, but I'm kind of cynical about these things for whatever reason. What's probably going to end up is this is going to be critical research to take another step forward. But there's been things like in dental research where Supposedly, we're going to be able to just spray something on a cavity and it'll dissolve the cavity and it'll be super clean so that they don't have to use a drill. That's never happened. Who knows if hair follicle development is going to happen? Probably not in my lifetime, but that's fine. We stand on the shoulders of giants, but I would really like to have my hair back. Ugh, genetics, curses. Well, let's continue on. I've got about 20 articles like I normally do. I didn't really get into an intro or anything like that. I wanted to get into the news. But you can always swing by ohmTown.com or ohmTown here on Twitch, which is twitch.tv/ohmTown. You can also go to YouTube, which is youtube.com/ohmTown. But let me go back into the articles. This is a political article, but it's in my Hatch Ideas channel. 4 senators say that 88-year-old Senator Dianne Feinstein's memory is rapidly deteriorating. For me, I don't know why anybody is in politics at 88 years old. I'm not sure why this is persistent, that somebody is in office and stays in office beyond what seems like a reasonable number of years. You know, I guess I'll just leave it at that. I just don't. It's really about just brand recognition, and people are happy with the person that is in there. But I embrace change. I really do. Because if it's the same thing all the time, other than it being, oh, well, you know what you're going to get. I want different perspectives. I want different inroads, different ways of doing things. I want change. I just don't, I don't get it. Why they are staying, why anybody is staying either in any form in political leadership. I mean, once you hit 68 years old, just go retire and live on a golf course, but don't go back in. Don't be a consultant and all of that stuff. I mean, this revolving door stuff drives me nuts too. So at any rate, it says here there are new allegations that the oldest sitting member of the U.S. Senate isn't mentally fit enough for her demanding job. Well, there are people that are criticizing this, but I really just think that when you get to this age, you should just realize, go and enjoy your life. Instead of sitting in Senate, go play some golf or something. Anyway, I'm gonna click the link. Probably not making friends by saying it like that, but happy to discuss it in chat. You may not agree, but it is what it is. This is an article over at businessinsider.com, written by Jake LaHoot. And the way they do it is these little paragraphs, and there might be ads or something in there. I'm not sure what's going on. Anyway, it says there are new claims that the oldest sitting member of the U.S. Senate isn't mentally fit for a demanding job. One unnamed member of Congress said Senator Dianne Feinstein's mental acuity raised such concern for them that they considered staging some kind of intervention to get the 88-year-old California Democrat to retire. The San Francisco Chronicle reported Thursday. And they were, the Dianne Feinstein was actually on, was the topic for a segment on another stream earlier today, but I didn't get a chance to really listen in. So apparently this is kind of making its rounds on the internet. So I don't know. Go retire, Senator Feinstein. Enjoy the rest of your life, and let some new blood in. The next article is business writing skills, top 10 tips to improve. I see this as a problem consistently. I have compatriots that have to deal with, I don't do it so much anymore, but in the business startup sector, in business education, academia, business writing tends to have to be taught to a greater degree, it seems now more than ever, because people are writing much more casual in their business writing than ever before. Uh, and it seems to be getting worse. So, depending on which school you go to, depending on which high school you go to, depending on where you go to for business school, depending on who it is that's your mentor or who peers that you are working with, when you are doing your business writing has just kind of wet the bed. So, business writing skills, business writing comes with its own individual set of requirements. You need to research your topic, evaluate your audience, clearly define your purpose for writing, and edit for clarity and brevity in order to communicate effectively. That is a great sentence, by the way. So I'm going to click the link. It'll take us over to Pro Writing Aid, which I encourage you to visit regularly if you are an aspiring writer or just want tips, tricks, and technique. And here it says, there are many types of business writing, including emails and letters and marketing and sales materials and administrative information, to name a few. What I tell my clients and the people that I speak to regularly is you have to read the room. You have to know who you are speaking to and then write to those people. But don't, particularly if you're writing a business plan or something like that, don't make it about you. It's always about the business. It's always about the customers, but don't use I, don't use you. Don't make it personal when you're writing business, because it isn't really personal. It's you're trying, if you are marketing something, you're trying to inspire them to take action. And you don't know who it is. So, kind of leaning into the personalization might limit who actually receives your marketing message. So, at any rate, go over and read that article because it has 10 tips. One of it is research your topic, summarize your idea before you write. I always tell people, go let somebody else read it, or you can say it to them, so that you get to read the room. Again, read the room. Be impartial. There you go. Find somebody to read it and critique it and tell them to be brutal. If it ruins your marriage, then your marriage was already on rocky ground. Use the active voice as number 5. Edit for clarity and brevity. It was already mentioned earlier. So now you get to go over and read this article at Pro Writing Aid, Business Writing Skills, Top 10 Tips to Improve, and it's written by Millie Dinsdale. The next article is something that I got earlier today, and it's been idling here, waiting for me to do the show all the way at 11 p.m., where Elon Musk might find the cash to buy Twitter. So I've been... if I say that sentence, it makes it sound like I've been just combing through all kinds of stuff to read about Elon Musk. But I know a little bit about Elon Musk, all the way back to Zip2, which was his first enterprise. There's always been somebody else there with him. And so, and even before that, he has had money. And one of the things that I say sociologically, if you have to worry about money, if you have to worry about where your food comes from or shelter or safety, you end up not being at the full capacity that you could be at. So when a millionaire already has no concern about anything except making themselves better, not just survival, but they are already no longer burdened by anything about survival, you can do really great things. Well, Elon Musk is tied to supposedly starting up PayPal, but he didn't start up PayPal. Peter Thiel started up PayPal. Musk started up X.com, and that got merged into what would become PayPal. And so that isn't actually a Musk startup. And X actually had other things going on. And Zip2 was funded by somebody else. And Tesla was founded by other people, not Musk. He actually bought his way into being the CEO based on the research that I read. And pivoted it and made it the success it is. I'm not knocking him in any way, but there is a whole lot of context that people just conveniently dump. I haven't even looked at the Boring Company, and SpaceX was almost bankrupt. And the thing that saved it and turned everything around was public money, because NASA awarded over $1 billion to SpaceX to start launching rockets. So, there's a whole ton of luck, a whole lot of machinations and context that people just conveniently forget. And so here comes Twitter, and another issue where Twitter and Elon Musk is that he didn't file the paperwork until he already owned almost 10% of the stake. And then he says, I'm going to buy the whole damn place. And then files the paperwork and then says, well, if they don't do this, then it's not a smart investment. So he'll have to reconsider his position. But all of this is public thought influencing the valuation of the stock. All of these other investors are completely screwed one way or the other. Why? Because they have a vested interest in the safety of that stock, either going up or going down. Elon Musk doesn't give a rat's butt about it, because all he wants to do is go in and rock the boat and do something that he thinks is of value. Where free speech and Twitter diverge is that free speech is a control on the government, not on private companies, not on society. You cannot say whatever you want out on the street. It isn't a control of government. If you're out there and you are saying whatever you want and government comes after you, that's a violation of your freedom of speech. But if you are sitting there screaming and saying all of these lies and somebody smacks you like Will Smith, it's assault, but it isn't a violation of your free speech. It's society saying they don't want to hear your crap. Huge difference. Huge difference. And as I've said in many, many other episodes, context is key. Context is fundamental. Lacking context, your statement, whatever it might be, could mean anything. Anyway, so he's coming up with $43 billion to buy Twitter. $43 billion to supposedly quench the thirst for freedom of speech. But you can pretty much get away with anything on Twitter. Least of which, I'm sure, all he would have to say to silence anybody is to call somebody out, and the army of Musk fans would go after that person. Not too shocking to see that, because it's happened before. So this article is over at Business Insider. My understanding is this is going to be denied. They're not going to accept this. I think I read somewhere that it was, but I didn't verify it yet, that they were already denying it, saying, no, we're not going to accept this offer. This article is over at businessinsider.com, written by Dominic Reuter. And they end up talking about this thing. It says Twitter needs to be transformed as a private company, the Tesla and SpaceX CEO said in a letter to Twitter's chairman, Brett Taylor. Twitter has extraordinary potential. I will unlock it. Ah, yes, the CEO Messiah. Yeah, suddenly there's something secret in there that only Musk can bring to the surface. I'm sure. But I'm going to continue on. There have been times where Twitter has been up at 80. This says here the offer represents a premium of more than 50% above the stock's price at the end of January when Musk began quietly acquiring shares, but substantially less than the 52-week high of 73.34. Yeah, so my understanding it's somewhere around 45 billion to buy the rest of the shares at the valuation that he's talking about. So if you want to read more about it, go over to Business Insider. The next article is Raid Forum. The next article is in Warcrafters channel, but the title is Raid Forum hacking site seized as founder arrested with 6 criminal counts. A popular raid forum hacking site on which delinquents would share data collected from breaches, leaks, and scrapes has, as of yesterday, been taken down. It comes alongside news that the site's 21-year-old Portuguese founder has been arrested and charged with 6 criminal counts. I'll just click this link and you can go over to pcgamer.com and read more about this. The article is written by Katie Wickens. And it says the raid forum site has been shut down by the U.S. Department of Justice. Let's see, Diego Santos Coelho, I guess is his last name, was found in Croydon, UK, and identified as the site's founder and main administrator, known as Omnipotent. Despite the name, he wasn't able to do much about his current predicament, and has now been charged with a count of conspiracy to commit access device fraud, 1 count of aggravated identity theft, along with 4 counts of access device fraud. All right. Yep. You're up a creek. And what I tell people in my field is if you are going to hack, do not hack within the United States. The moment you try and access somebody's site unauthorized, it's a criminal action. You will eventually get caught. It all depends on just how aggressive whoever it is that discovers you wants to go after you, how much pain and suffering you cause in the process. And if you're doing it outside the United States, if they have partnership with the United States, you're equally up a creek without a paddle. So just don't hack. I mean, do it to defend a network, sure. Do it to get permission and say, hey, I'd like to try and do some penetration testing on your site. Let's see if I can get in. But trying to get some Bitcoin or whatever. Nowadays, you're just going to get caught and thrown in jail. But let's continue on. The next article is in the Law Nerd channel. What past recessions can teach us about the next one. While temporarily shrinking economy may be unavoidable, there are variables that we can control. This is an article over at Above the Law. I won't go too far into it tonight, but it says it's an article over at Above the Law by Jonathan Wolfe. And it says over the past 75 years, every time inflation has exceeded 4% and unemployment has gone below 5%, the U.S. economy has gone into a recession within 2 years. Former Treasury Secretary Lawrence Summers recently wrote in a Washington Post op-ed, at least in the short term, inflation has far exceeded 4% and the unemployment rate has dropped to only 3.6% in March. Summers puts the odds of recession by the end of 2023 at 80%. Yeah. I can't say 80%, but I am pretty sure that's where we're headed. I don't know if it's at the end of 2023. I think it's going to be sooner than that. Um, but it also says here, everyday Americans are even shorter on optimism than the experts. A survey conducted in late March found that 81% of the U.S. adults think the U.S. will experience a recession in the coming months of 2022. Yeah, I think it's going to be closer um, than 2023. Yeah, maybe in the first quarter of 2023, but I think it's more closer to the end of this year. But you can go over to Above the Law and read more about it. There are so many issues right now. I just, you could probably do a longer show just talking about this. But I am not prepped for that tonight. The next article is Watch Me Start a Law Firm so I can help you start your law firm. And it's a link in Law Nerd. That's the channel. Moving from concept to commercialization or idea to implementation is hard. Let me show you how. This is a link over at myshingle.com. And let me close this here. And it's an article by Carolyn Elephant. Man, that sounds like, never mind. I'll move on. Anyway, it says, I get it. Moving from concept to commercialization or idea to implementation is hard. For starters, it's easy to get bogged down with decisions, choices at every juncture, which makes the process of 2 or 3 times as long, which only delays your opening day when you can start bringing money in the door. Yeah, so if you've never heard of that phrase, my shingle or hanging a shingle, it's basically it aligns more with a law firm about putting your name out there and saying that you're ready to, you're open for business. And there's some stuff down here that is more focused on the attorney side of things, like trust accounts for your customers. Most of the rest of this is all standard business stuff. But they're down here with procuring an EIN. If you're going to procure an EIN, you're going to be doing that pretty much the same time that you're starting up the name of the firm, unless you're using your own name. And even then, it behooves you to get an EIN when you start your business up. And at the same time you're starting your business up, you will have to have a bank account. You're going to want to be an LLP. So it's going to be a different type of, it's not just your name out there. You want a limited liability practice. You invest your own money into setting this thing up, and that's the capital you use to progress your business. There's a lot to this, and I don't know just how much is going to be done in this format, but I would be interested to watch the whole thing go down. So it says here the first batch of how-to videos are free and accessible by registering here at this link. So you'll have to go over and do that. There's also a book that the person has written called Solo by Choice. So I'd be curious to go through this, and I might just do that. So let's continue on. The next article is in the Hatch Ideas channel. Putin warns Europe that switching away from Russian oil would be very painful. Putin on Thursday warned Europe that ditching Russian oil imports would be very painful. He also accused unfriendly countries of delaying payments for oil and gas purchases. Putin said trying to replace Russia's oil supply will inevitably affect the entire global economy. Yeah, because nothing says friendly like invading a neighbor country. This is an article over at Business Insider written by Rebecca Cohen, and basically just reiterates what that little snippet is from the aggregator. Putin claimed there are issues with the Russian oil and gas sectors currently, notably that unfriendly countries are delaying payments for Russian oil imports. Yeah, because it's required to be paid in rubles because, and that's in violation of the contracts, right? That's what I've been told. That's what I've read, that the contracts are saying that it's dollars, not rubles. So at any rate, um, and nothing says, hey, let's have a friendly interaction, like invading a country and then demanding that you're going to be held hostage with our oil. The next article is The Big Short author Michael Lewis says crypto is quote unquote more egalitarian and could reform legacy finance, or the whole space could come crashing down. The little snippet in the Hatch Ideas channel is cryptocurrency poses a threat to legacy finance, according to Big Short author Michael Lewis. A separate financial structure is being built alongside the old legacy financial structure, Lewis told Yahoo. But there's still a chance that the whole thing collapses if people lose faith in crypto. It's not about, not only is there a problem with faith in crypto, but it's too abstract. It's too difficult to utilize. Yes, there are people that are capable of doing it, but you have to actually focus quite a bit of concentration on processing crypto. And crypto is tied to US dollars, or some other fiduciary embodiment, not crypto. You don't think, hey, I've got 500 Bitcoin. No, you say, hey, I've got 500 Bitcoin, and that translates into tens of thousands of dollars, US dollars, or whatever currency you happen to have in your country of choice, or wherever you want to translate your Bitcoin to. There might be better places for it to be exchanged. But at any rate, adoption is one thing. The whole thing crashing down is another thing, because it could take a country like the United States to say that crypto is banned. And the whole reason why anybody is even in crypto right now is the fear of missing out, and the idea that their Bitcoin, when they got it at 10 cents, when it was valued at 10 cents and now it's $40,000, that's the reason why people are in crypto, because they see an opportunity. When it all starts crashing down around them, that's when lawsuits will pop up, because they didn't get out of it fast enough. But nobody's complaining when it's all doing great. I just think that crypto has nothing to do with egalitarianism. I mean, the only people that would think possibly that it's egalitarian are people that are early adopters that got in on it now, because it certainly isn't egalitarian when it costs $40,000 plus for a Bitcoin. There's nothing egalitarian about it. You're already pricing out anybody who doesn't make a metric ton of money or has Bitcoin miners or something else going on. So let's click this link, businessinsider.com, written by Phil Rosen. These articles just seem, well, this particular article, not all of these, but most of the articles that I read about Bitcoin are coming from the perspective of somebody that's already capitalizing on them. Anybody that's a late bloomer to this is maybe by happenstance stumbling across a coin, but good luck. They've probably invested a lot of money in technology to try and mine a Bitcoin or some other crypto. And I mean, the number of cryptocurrencies that are out there, probably over 1,000 now. Stopped paying attention. Anyway, go over to Business Insider, follow that link, and you will be able to read more about it. The next article is in the Smack Talk channel. Future MagSafe could transmit data and authenticate users through peripherals. Apple is researching ways to advance MagSafe to carry data wirelessly like Lightning does over cable now, plus how to recognize and authenticate accessories. Right now, you can place a MagSafe compatible phone onto a MagSafe charger and it'll charge. You can add a MagSafe iPhone case and the phone will still charge through it. However, Apple says that at present, there are some drawbacks to how MagSafe works. Accessory devices that communicate with electronic devices is a newly revealed patent that lays out it's an application that lays out the problem and has solutions which mean making MagSafe smarter. Well, some of the Apple, this is an AppleInsider.com article written by William Gallagher. Some Apple cables have chips inside their endpoints, wherever that endpoint might be, that communicates with the charging system to let everything charge smarter. Anyway, it says, however, Apple says that at present there are some drawbacks. So what do you think those drawbacks are? For instance, some accessory devices inadvertently form a heat trap by virtue of their position on the electronic device, says Apple. Moreover, advances in processor technology provide faster processing speeds for electronic devices but generate more heat during operation. This has always been a problem with any electronic device that charges. It generates heat, and heat is the bane of technology, of anything really. You heat anything up and it'll fall apart. The next article is in the Order of the Bean channel. Tokyo's manuscript writing cafe forces you to meet your deadline. So I thought this was interesting. Know a few writers, and if you are a writer and you have a problem with sticking to your writing, procrastination or writer's block is a real pain in the butt. You can go over to sprudge.com and you can read more about this article. Let's see if I can find who the author of this article is. Zach Cadwallader. Tokyo's manuscript writing cafe forces you to meet your deadline. Genius, it is said, is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, and writing, a form of genius, or so writers would have you believe, is 1% putting words to paper and 99% procrastinating and fretting about putting words to paper. It's a clunkier and more verbose corollary, sure, but what do you expect from a writer? Interesting. As reported by Grape, the manuscript writing cafe can be found inside the photography studio, Koenji Triangle. In order to be allowed into the cafe, you have to be a writer and you must have a piece in need of completion. According to proprietor Takuya Kawai, this is, quote, in order to maintain a level of focus and tense atmosphere at the cafe. Paying by the hour, writers who make it inside check in with the reception desk and tell them how many words they need to write and by what time. A cafe manager will then keep them on task with hourly check-ins to see how things are progressing. Patrons are even able to select if these check-ins are more mild or aggressive, and if the pressure of a watchful eye isn't motivation enough, the manuscript writing cafe won't let you leave until you've completed your tasks. You are literally trapped in a prison of your own procrastination, which frankly isn't really that much different than writing to begin with, only now you're paying by the hour for it. Yikes. Anyway, you can go over to sprudge.com and read this article more for yourself whenever you get over your procrastination. The next article is mortgage rates soar to highest level in over a decade. They say even wealthy home buyers are feeling the pain. Wealthy is subjective to a point, and then it's entirely objective. I would feel these mortgage rates. Other people with more money would not even come close to feeling this. Anyway, this article is over at marketwatch.com. It's written by Jacob Passy. Interest rates on home loans have surged above 5%. The pandemic-related boom in purchases of second homes is coming to a screeching halt. Hello. No, it is not. I switched to 11 p.m. And as I said at the very beginning of this, I have had an amazingly rough week, and it's not over yet. Tomorrow is another day where I'm going to be working 125%. And so right now my energy is pretty low, even though I'll probably be up until about 2 o'clock. But I've only got a few articles left, but it's good to see you, Building. Thanks for swinging by. So here in the States, interest rates on mortgages have gone above 5%. The whole idea of this inflationary trend, to me, has maintained being a concern, not because of it happening, but because I can't find the actual source. The people that I work with, the people that are in economics that I work with, macro and microeconomics, they do the analysis and I do some interpretation, and I work with business and whatnot. They say that it's death by 1,000 cuts. So a whole bunch of things are happening, but to me, it's all coming down to everybody that I've talked to, layer after layer, all the way down to the source of the materials for products around the world. All of them are saying the same thing: gas prices increased. Well, to me, I've said this in other episodes, you can't have increased pricing and record profits and blame these high costs on increased costs for oil. Why is that? Because the only way that all of this plays together is if you are also increasing your margins, because increased costs for the raw materials is going to cut into the profit of your gas on the other side, because you have to buy it, let's say, at $120 a barrel, when it normally would have been $100 a barrel. It sometimes is even dramatically lower than that. But you're here in the States, you're raising the rates by 12%, and you have inflationary elements all throughout the economy. So really, where is all of this? Why is the price increasing? Well, to me, it just screams profiteering. It screams, well, now that the doors are opening up and people are working again and people are going out again, I can jack the price up and recover my losses from the last 2.5 years, even though everybody has been suffering at the same level. Although people that have wealth suffer at a different rate than those of us who don't have great wealth. That's not always self-evident. So we end up with differing levels of bearing the weight of this profiteering. And so gas increases, and because gas prices increases, everything else increases, because you can't get from point A to point B without gas, at least until everybody is on electric vehicles. And housing is just a byproduct. The increase in housing is because it costs money to actually build a house, and everything else associated with it constrains houses being built. Depending on where you live in the world, it can get worse. But here in the States, it's pretty obvious, at least to me. I don't know how anybody else feels about it. The people that I work with that are in this sector of economic analysis, they tend to be a little bit more reserved about making the claim that I'm making, which is, like you're saying, it's greed. Okay, but I'm going to continue on. I've got about 3 more articles. This next one is in the Hatch Ideas channel, and this is about Elon Musk. Again, There was a previous one about an offer that he made. This one here says Elon Musk proposed 100% takeover of Twitter is likely to happen after a soap opera that leaves the board. 1 second. Um, the this is actually kind of fallen apart. My understanding now, and when I first grabbed this article, it was earlier today, and my understanding now is that if the deal doesn't get accepted, he quote unquote will reevaluate his position on buying or of owning any shares, which got him into trouble already by hiding the fact that he bought 9.2% of the outstanding shares. And now this is that he's willing to pay $43 billion to privatize Twitter. And the moment I heard that he wanted to privatize it, I instantly said, okay, everybody start firing up your Twitter clones, because it's going to turn Twitter into a nightmare if he drops any controls of quote unquote free speech. Yeah, there is so much free speech on Twitter right now that, short of doing a verbal version of driving your bus through a group of nuns, you're not going to get in trouble on Twitter. You have to be really influential and say dramatically outlandish things to get punted off of Twitter. Most people fly under the radar. Well, anyway, him trying to purchase it outright is going to influence share price, and there are people that actually have voting rights. You can't just buy it all. It's virtually impossible to just buy it all. But he filed with the SEC an actual document offering $54.20 a share to privatize it. But I heard already that it's being denied, that they're not going to take that offer. So this article is over at businessinsider.com. It's written by Matthew Fox. And I'm not sure if they'll have an update. Let me scroll down to the bottom. Yeah. So all of his public statements influence the. Wow, there's a lot of white space on this site. All of his public disclosures just kind of randomly influence share price. But with him on board to this degree, I think that people are already saying, I don't want anything to do with Twitter shares. And those who are already owning Twitter shares are going to feel the burn, particularly when he bows out. All of these other shares are going to be released into the wild. The price is going to drop. I'd say about $10, but then you can buy it and you'll make $10 a share when it goes back up. Okay, so the next article is Ambient Music Isn't a Backdrop. It's an invitation to suspend time. I clicked this link because of that, this turn of phrase, invitation to suspend time, and I like ambient music. It says here, in the face of crisis, our critic turned to music that demanded that she relinquish control. I've no idea what this article is about. I'm literally literally, I can actually say that, literally, judging my choosing this article on the proverbial book cover. So let's click this link and see what New York Times article titled Ambient Music Isn't a Backdrop. It's an invitation to suspend time. I hope I still have access. So it's a 13-minute article written by Isabelia Herrera. You can listen to it and you can read it, of course. When I heard the news that my mother had suffered a stroke, the feeling that surfaced wasn't despair, but an impulse to problem solve. First, the doctor's medical jargon flooded my brain like a ticker tape. Yeah, the stroke caused a crisis, and there was dread, and so they Googled. They made playlists They called one If You Need to Breathe, all lowercase. They populated it with soft focus synth tones and obliterating loops of ambient music. And they scrolled through Spotify and stumbled upon dozens of playlists. You know, um, you can go over and read the rest of this article, but I'm going to recommend there is a thing called Hearts of Space that is available via the internet now. It used to be just a radio station on late at night where I used to live in Southern California. And it's a great ambient um, music station. I think it costs like $100 a year. I'm not quite sure anymore. It's been a while since I did it. Hearts of Space is what it's called, and it's all this ambient kind of space music. And I think it's spectacular, and I think you could probably get it anywhere. Um, so check it out. It's just called Hearts of Space. Okay, but I'm going to keep on hustling down this. This is the last article. And I thought it was really neat. It says, this is in the Mobile channel. Meet the blockchain detectives who track crypto's hackers and scammers. And the snippet that my aggregator grabbed was in a recent video, a YouTuber known as CoffeeZilla wears his signature white shirt and red suspenders and sits in his virtual studio that looks like it's pulled out of a B-list cyberpunk video game. There are several blinking computer screens, a roof of exposed tubes, and a wall where photos of different people are connected by intersecting red lines, like in the office of an old school detective who pulls the threads of a major mystery, or like the evergreen conspiracy meme from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And I refer to these as murder boards. Murder boards. Basically connecting everybody to everything else, and you have one person where all the threads lead. It's a fitting setting for CoffeeZilla, whose real name is Steven. He wouldn't disclose his last name to Motherboard to protect his privacy. It'd probably be pretty easy to find that person. Yeah, that's like one of those conspiracy boards behind him. That's interesting. So I've never watched this guy, but I probably should. This is an article over on Vice.com, Motherboard Tech by Vice. It's such a mishmash of stuff right here. This Motherboard Tech by Vice at Vice.com. And articles written by Lorenzo Franceschi. Bicarai, I guess it's pronounced. I'm probably butchering that name. I apologize in advance. Or not in advance. But I do apologize if I'm hacking up that name. So let's see here. What else does it say in this article? There's plenty of work to be done. The video is the latest in a series of 6 videos about the alleged scams promoted by influencers and professional boxer brothers Jake and Logan Paul. In the 8-minute investigation, he accuses Jake Paul of raking in more than $2 million by promoting a series of crypto projects that are actually scams designed to deceive investors, according to CoffeeZilla. Man, that is actually pretty dangerous game to play. I mean, it's depending on the shape and size of these claims, it's either slander or libel or both. It all depends on how it's put down, pen to paper or voice. And it says 3 people who claim to have been victims of a pump and dump scheme promoted by executives of SafeMoon, a company that launched an eponymous token, NFT apparently, or a full-on cryptocurrency, have filed a class action against the company. Jake Paul and other celebrities and influencers are named as defendants for their alleged role in aiding the scheme. SafeMoon, Jake Paul, and other influencers named in the lawsuit have yet to respond to it, according to court documents reviewed by Motherboard. Yeah, well, I mean, there's a lot of this FOMO, fear of missing out. And if anybody is interested in this kind of thing, you can actually pull up a list of all of the cryptocurrencies that are out there. And we're in the thousands now of cryptocurrencies, but most of the ones that people know are Ethereum. Well, the 2 biggest ones are Ethereum and Bitcoin. There are other subordinate ones, and sometimes they are funds of a composite of them. that you trade as a cryptocurrency that is a composite of the other currencies. It's pretty wild. Um, but if for whatever reason somebody crypto like Dogecoin was a meme that turned into a cryptocurrency that actually gained traction, adopted by a great number of people, but its purpose is meaningless. It has the only value that it has is that it exists and people want it, but its true value is when it's pegged to the US dollar or some other currency that somebody translates it to, exchanges it to. Um, so it's really about adoption. And I just don't see people gravitating towards cryptocurrencies to pay for things, because when a single Bitcoin costs $50,000, trying to buy something with cryptocurrency means you're going to have to sit there and move that decimal point out, 25 decimals, just for it to make sense when you're buying a pack of gum. Um, the reason why Bitcoin has any value is because so many people in the early days of it actually got a hold of them, and people said, "Ooh, well, let's see, maybe it has legs, so I'm going to hold on to them." And other people were buying pizza for 14 Bitcoins in the early days, only to find out that less than 10 years later, it's $40,000 or $60,000 a Bitcoin. So you can see, simply because it went viral and people had a fear of missing out, it gained value. A previous article referred to it as being egalitarian, but egalitarianism has nothing to do with Bitcoin, because if you can't buy a Bitcoin, there isn't much egalitarian to it. You're already pricing out any access to it. So, guess who owns a lot of Bitcoin? Not only does the creator of Bitcoin own a metric ton of Bitcoin, but major investors, millionaires and billionaires, are scooping up Bitcoin and then riding the wave and selling it. It's not a bunch of little guys that own a lot of Bitcoin. Some do, don't get me wrong. There are people out there that are Bitcoin millionaires for days. Um, but we're already on the other side of Bitcoin demand. It takes a lot to get a Bitcoin now. You have to become a part of a consortium. A consortium will allow you to find Bitcoins, because solo mining just isn't where it's at. People are spinning up warehouses of Bitcoin miners so that they can find Bitcoin. And some of them are successful at it. Again, don't get me wrong, I understand the context of it, but it's fear of missing out. And what they're afraid of missing out is taking that Bitcoin and translating it to a currency that's valued, because Bitcoin by itself has no value. I can take a dollar and go somewhere else. It's a dollar. You take a Bitcoin, go somewhere else, it has to translate into that other currency for it to be of any value to anybody. Unless you run up against somebody who wants your Bitcoin. But it's because they know that it can translate into a real currency, because the cryptocurrency isn't going to get you anything. It's always because it's translated into an accepted currency, one that people understand. Um, so NFTs and blockchains and cryptocurrencies, all of this stuff is largely, at least to me at this point, yeah, I was an early adopter of crypto. I did mining when it first came out. I thought it was neat. I have my own personal concerns with it. That doesn't really stop me from saying, hey, if you're into it, then go for it. But I won't be doing an NFT unless I'm curious about it. That's typically what I do, is I try things out just so I know about it. But there are people like this in this article that are committing a crime, and I don't know if they really are, but if they're committing a crime using crypto, it becomes pretty obvious the moment that you actually try and look at it in any real way. If you just go with the flow, you might be able to make some money for a little while, but at some point it's all going to fall apart because there's nothing really there. Um, whereas Bitcoin, it went viral and people started adopting it and utilizing it for stuff. And it's mostly because it just has momentum. It'll die off, I think. Um, and what's really going to put a coffin nail in it is the moment that a major country like the EU, all of the countries in the EU, the moment that they say they won't accept Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies, crypto is done. If the US ever says that they're not going to do it, done. But who knows what's going on behind closed doors. Um, yeah, I mean, you can get into conspiracy talk about, maybe the CIA is using cryptocurrency to fund black ops all around the world because it can't be tracked, right? Supposedly. So, at any rate, this is pretty interesting. Always happy to watch somebody come out of the woodwork, so to speak, like CoffeeZilla tracking crypto scams. It's very, very interesting. But I'm sure that this person has gone viral and people are just following them like crazy. Let me see, in fact, where is the let me see. Oh, they're on Twitter. And there's their YouTube. Hold on one second. Let me. Wow, this is an old. They linked to an old thing, but they've got 1 million subscribers, and I just realized something that I'm just gonna cut the rest of the show short, um, and I'm gonna have to get some work done. But um, like always, we're going to go back to the front page, and I click the little ohmTown.com logo, and it takes me to the front page. My aggregator grabs something from an article that I'll have to edit. But at any rate, ohmTown is always aggregating. Go over to ohmTown.com. Obviously, come back here tomorrow. I'm going to try and stick to the 11 o'clock slot from now on. It might work better for me, but it's more of a evaluation for now. We'll see if I can stick to it. But in the meantime, we'll come back to this tomorrow at 11 o'clock with a whole new set of articles, and we'll do it all again. And maybe I can stay longer and have some discussions. So thanks for coming, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. Now I'm going to end this, but I'll stick around for a second. Okay, hold on a second. Just so I know where to stop this thing. Okay, anyway, I'm going to go over to Dunk. There he is. So Dunkster is streaming, but I need to do some work real quick, and then I'm going to go over to Dunkster and say hi. So I will see you guys over there. I'm not going to raid or anything. I'm just going to shut it down tonight, and I'll see you over there if you go over there. Let's see here. Let me do it this way. Okay. Go over there. See ya. Bye-bye.